I joined as a park ranger 5 months before the events of this story. I would encounter stairs occasionally, but it was random when they'd appear. Once, I went a month without seeing them, and then I'd run into 3 of them in 3 days consecutively. Hold on, I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. Most of you probably don't even get what I'm talking about. In the national park where I work, occasionally in the wilderness, you'll find staircases which seem to sprout out of nowhere. And just staircases, out in the open. They don't seem to lead anywhere, and they go away just as quickly as they come. Now, I'm pretty sure this would be a bigger news story than it is, but as it is, the higher-ups want to keep a wrap on them. I don't know if perhaps they know more than I do about them, but whatever it is, the other rangers didn't care too much for them either. Whenever I would ask about them, most of them would just straight up ignore me and start talking about the weather. Some of them would glare at me as if I'd committed an unforgivable sin and told me to never mention them again. A few of them would just shrug and get on with whatever it was that they were supposed to be doing. I did find someone, though, I'll call him Mark, who was a bit more open to talking about them. Listen, you're new here and most people just get the hint that no one is supposed to talk about them, but yeah, they just sort of pop up. He paused and looked at me quizzically. Have you ever come across one which is upside down? I shook my head. I've seen one of them like that, and some of the others have too. I have no clue what it means. Only thing that you need to know is that you are to never, ever go on them. Do that, and the least you'll be getting is fired. He then trailed off, not detailing the things that could happen, which would be worse than that. And for a time, I just sort of accepted that. We weren't supposed to be going on the stairs. Simple enough. I even began to ignore it. It was easy enough to ignore them for the most part. Aside from looking really weird, they weren't doing any harm, right? That was until one day we got an alert that a kid had disappeared somewhere in the woods. I was sent out as part of a search party, and as I began combining the area where the kid was last seen, I saw it. A set of stairs lined with a yellow carpet. Another one of the rangers, I'll call her Stacy, found me staring at it. Stacy was a part of the crowd which would ignore the stairs as much as possible, but her face became pale when she saw them. She looked at me and shook her head. We'll keep searching, but, well, we need to get ready to tell the folks the bad news. She left, and I quickly pieced together what she thought had happened. The kid must have gone up the stairs, and then, well, whatever happened when you climbed up them happened. She had already written off the kid as dead. Me, though, I wasn't one to give up that easily, unfortunately. And I was new here and somehow felt that I could pull something amazing off. What an idiot I was. I won't lie, though. I did feel odd while going up the stairs. I spent a good minute just staring at them initially, unsure if I should go up or not. In the end, I figured that if I didn't make my move soon, someone would find me, and I did not want to be caught doing it. I counted the steps on my hands as I climbed, 13 in total. Weird. An odd number. And as I put my foot on the topmost step, my body shook. You ever have that false falling sensation when you're falling asleep? When you're trying to fall asleep, but it's really just your body trying to check if everything's A-okay or something, I believe? That's what I felt. As if when my foot descended to meet the topmost step, the ground beneath me gave way but immediately popped back into existence. And when that was done, I was no longer at the top of the staircase. I was at the bottom again. And I was no longer in the woods. I was in someone's house, and the stairs were still completely out of place. They led right up into a wall. I looked around. The carpet here didn't even match that of the stairs. It was a crimson red color. I was in a hallway and could hear some voices coming from a room. I know it sounds stupid, but the first thing that came to mind was that I was wearing shoes. Shoes which had been outside in the woods on a carpet. If it was my mom, she would be screaming bloody murder at me. What would the owner or owners of this house think? I crept up towards the door, dreading what was coming. As it was, I couldn't exactly go back down into the woods. Maybe I could keep going up. But would that lead me back home or somewhere else? As it was, even though this was a weird situation, I was still more confident with staying here. Because, at the very least, this place was safe. And as they say, better the devil you know. I went into the room, preparing an apologetic face. The room looked fairly normal at first glance. There were 4 people sitting at a table, 2 adults and 2 children, who looked like they were eating dinner based on how dark it was outside. The television was on, and there was some sort of news program on which they must have been watching before they noticed me and turned their heads. And that's what was off about them. Their heads. Each of them had their heads on backwards. Even the newscaster on television had his head on backwards and was looking out with his chair turned around. Otherwise, they were just like you and I. And really thinking about it, it seems almost comical. Though it didn't seem funny at the time. The 4 of them screamed and one of them lunged for a knife. I didn't want to stick around any longer and wound back up the stairs. Instinctively, I thought that if I went up them, I would once again end up somewhere else. It was that or go outside the door, but I had a strange feeling that when I went out into the world, given what I saw from the news broadcast, I would find a world filled with people with their heads on backwards. As my feet touched the top of the stairs, I once again felt the weird falling sensation as I found myself back in the woods. I sighed in relief now. Granted, I hadn't found the kid I was looking for, but I was safe from whatever those creatures were. However, there was definitely something off here. I realized that quickly enough when I glanced up. There was nothing off initially, until I saw that there was something accompanying the sun overhead. It was another sun, which had descended towards the horizon. 2 suns in the sky. I definitely wasn't back in Kansas. Taking a deep breath, I went up the stairs again. And again. And again. I saw many things, worlds, which were a lot like our own, but subtly different. People having the wrong number of appendages, people who only had 1 eye or 3. Sometimes, I would even end up at some different part of time. I saw dinosaurs roam across a plain before I got my common sense together and left pronto. I have my own theory on what the stairs are now. They're gateways between different universes. I can only think that the fabled inverted ones that Mark once mentioned somehow led back. But I haven't been able to find that one. I've been going up the same set of stairs, hoping to end up back home. Granted, I finally got a break. Well, something of a break. I found him. The kid I was looking for. The little squirt started screaming the moment I approached him. Understandable, I guess. But I managed to introduce myself and calm him down. We ended up in someone's house, though thankfully the homeowner isn't here. The only thing I could think to do at this point was call for help, but my phone wasn't getting a signal. And so, I went on here and was hoping some of you could help us get back home. I've been scouring the internet, and it does seem like we managed to loop back around finally, given I can see the national park where I work at is listed on the internet. I saw a bunch of familiar sites and news items as well. It's good to be back home. It's good to be back home. Overall, we're doing fine for now, though we are getting kind of hungry. Oh yeah, there is one more odd thing here, now that I think about it. It's this keyboard. I don't know why, but it just isn't made for someone like me. I think maybe the owner of this house had some sort of accident and lost a finger on both of their hands, and they must have had this keyboard custom built for themselves later, because how in the world is anyone with a full set of 7 fingers supposed to use this thing? Well, anyway, do please send help soon. Hello everyone, I'm Giggles, and thank you so much for listening to my narration. A quick shout out to all my patrons:
Melissa Perez, Geek Sanctuary, Lawrence Wallen, Andreas Anderson London, Eric Cifuentes, Krzysztof Kozak-Slazak, Jesse Hartley, and Icy Narrates. If you want to become a patron today, you can check out the link in my description below. And as always, thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in the next video.